Hi, welcome to the Daiku Podcast and Daiku Game Pitch. Today I'm joined by Pavel Kitsman, the creator of Whispers of the Woods, a minimalistic role-playing game in which players will fill the shoes of 18th century villagers on the journey into mysterious dark woods. Pavel, welcome.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Hello.
Well, you've got a really interesting game that we're going to talk about, and you're currently kickstarting it. There's only 8 days to go, and all the links are going to be in the description and the show notes. But first of all, tell us, how did you get into this crazy little hobby? Especially, you're coming from Poland, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And I'll try to keep it brief. But basically, the whole thing with role-playing games started not so long ago. I would say 2-3 years ago. I have background in creative writing. I've in journalism, so I was always very close, and kind of game design as well. So I was kind of close to kind of art and creative side of things for a long time. But then I kind of got into tabletop RPGs, and there was this last year I was actually left without a job. It was kind of around March time. And it was a good thing. I was like, yeah, it's. I had a corporate job. It was like I basically worked for different corporations for 7 years in recruitment, and all the kind of creative stuff. It was just after hours kind of hobby, semi-professional, if you will. But then when I lost my job, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll just find something else in a corporate environment. But I didn't. And I was like, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's time for me to try and kind of make something for my own, and just to do what I always wanted to do, which is create stories and then worlds. So I did. So I decided. I went to my wife and I said, "Listen, I need 2 months. We have some savings. I need 2 months to kind of prepare a campaign and to kind of kickstart the whole business. Are you okay with this?" And she went like, "Yeah, if this is what will make you happy, just go for it." And I did, and I'm still here. It's been almost a year. Well, maybe not a whole year, but I'm alive and kicking, and still with plans to grow. So fingers crossed it will stay that way.
Well, I know I've interviewed many designers on this show, and the underlying theme is nobody can do it on their own, and it requires a nice support network. So it's nice to see that you have that, and those are the unsung heroes of game design, are those that are supporting what can seem sometimes something that is tough to tackle and tough to grasp, but it's nice to see that you have a nice support network there. And we are going to be talking about today Whispers of the Woods. Just tell us, like, I read in the intro about it, but just how did this idea come to be for you?
So it was actually one of my first ideas when I started kind of tinkering with just the kind of idea of making tabletop games. So it's over 2 years ago. And we can even kind of skip a few slides to get into that, and then we can go back maybe, because to answer your question, yeah, that's the idea, was to make this a trifold pamphlet, very kind of minimalistic in terms of not only the gameplay and the rule set, but also the style and everything. So this actually is a kind of working prototype, if you will, and it still kind of exists, and it was play tested, and kind of the idea, I think it came from after watching a movie, The Witch, which kind of gave me idea for something that's kind of more ambiguous in terms of the tone and kind of how the story goes. So from there, I just kind of escalated into the whole thing. And I made this prototype. It was play tested. The reactions were kind of fairly positive. But I was like, yeah, there was something missing. And I was about to kind of go, publish it for free on Edge and DTRPG, print it for a small festival here in Poland. But kind of I woke up one day, kind of on the day of festival at kind of 5 a.m. and I wanted to kind of print it. I was like, no, there's something missing. I don't want to put something in public that I'm not kind of 100% sure about. So I kind of left it, and it waited 2 years. And after 2 years, I decided, yeah, now I have the skill set. Now I have kind of the kind of Kickstarter experience as well, to really make it into a one big product, kind of the whole book, which kind of basically was also a bit difficult in terms of, do I really need to do it? It's not enough to make it a kind of pamphlet form. But I decided, yeah, I can do much more. I can do it better with a kind of full format, and yeah, and that's kind of how it came to be.
Cool. And let's go back to we already answered a little bit of this, but the who am I? And I saw that you have experience in pop culture journalism, as well as I think on your other page that you were in architecture. Is that correct?
Oh no,
No?
that's
Is
no,
that, oh, sorry, I'm
that's
thinking
my
of somebody
partner
else.
in crime.
Oh,
No, that's my partner in crime, Veronica,
oh,
who's
okay.
the artist for this project.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I graduated psychology, so I've done a lot of different things. So yeah, I worked in recruitment, graduated psychology. Now I'm kind of making tabletop games. I have experience in journalism, and I also did kind of scientific research for some time. So a lot of bits and
What?
pieces. And I like to think that all these experiences kind of adds up to make me who I am today, and kind of it influenced my work as well. Um, but basically that's me. And kind of coming into the tabletop game scene, making my first campaign, that was, well, this was actually once kind of smaller campaign before that, but kind of my first big campaign for Corpborg. I already had some experience in terms of production, printing, running a crowdfunding campaign as well. So it wasn't like, I wasn't completely new to everything. I gathered a lot of experience in terms of design, for a few years before I kind of decided to go full time with it. So
And you
kind of,
have you were, before we started recording, you had showed me that you've got a proof copy of Corp Borg,
oh yes,
which is
yep,
a Mork
just
Borg supplement. Maybe you don't mind holding that up and just
yes,
kind of showing us.
yeah, it's just a few pages here and there, but it came fresh out of the printer today. So it's ready to be printed and then shipped to all the backers, over 700 of them. And yeah, it is a Morgborg hack. A little bit more than a hack, because it's a whole kind of almost standalone game, but very much driven and inspired by Morgborg and kind of rules and the whole idea. But yeah, it's a game about corporations that kind of rules the world, as they do. But in our world, they don't use so much dark magic and kind of demonic pacts and human sacrifices. But in the world of Corpborg, they do, and they're kind of very explicit about it.
And before we get more into Whispers of the Woods, can you tell us, like, what's it like to produce and distribute from Europe and Poland, and the challenges that you might have as far as like deciding where to print, how to distribute?
So I think the biggest challenge is to kind of ship it to the backers in the US, because around 65% of all the people kind of support my projects are from the US. So, and kind of the next 20-25% are from the UK. So kind of it's a very small portion of people who kind of support my projects that are not from US or UK. And kind of shipping to UK, that's nice and easy. But yeah, what to do when I have to send a palette of a few hundred copies of a book overseas? Should I do it, or should I kind of print it in the US? But then I kind of lose control over the quality of the printing. So a lot of different difficult decisions to make. and I think I do it on a project-based kind of project-to-project basis. But I'm also grateful that I have some amazing partners. I've partnered with World of Game Design in the US, great guys, and kind of they help me a lot to put this in motion. So we're just early days of our cooperation, but we obviously set the whole thing up a few months ago. But now they'll start shipping my first game, and we'll probably continue working together for well, hopefully for a long time. But that's kind of that's super. I'm super grateful that I have someone kind of with experience to support me from the US. I also have partners here in Europe, so that makes easier. I cannot imagine sending things myself, kind of, because I've done that for one crowdfunding project, over 500 books, and I said never again.
Well, it takes a village, as they say, to sometimes make these things happen. So, talk to us about the art, and you already mentioned a little bit.
Yep. So I've met Veronica when I kind of commissioned her to do a little map for an adventure for Cyborg. And then it was like, yeah, it was a small map, small gig. So a few months passed, and I've noticed on her Facebook page that she's done exactly what you can see here, a few pieces that are kind of black and white, kind of reminiscent of linocuts a little bit. And I thought, oh, that would be perfect for Whispers. So I just messaged her and said, listen, would you like to try to do something for this specific projects? And yeah, kind of the very first illustration she's done, I was like, yeah, this is it. I'm not gonna even look for anyone else. This is it. And it's great because she's not kind of recognizable name in the industry yet. She hasn't done a lot of illustration. She's still a young artist. So again, once again, I'm kind of grateful to have such amazing people as Veronica, kind of that we are able to find each other, and you to kind of click on this specific project. Hopefully not the last one.
And then I know, on your Kickstarter, you've got some early reactions to folks that have played this, and it seems, the no prep part is like a key feature as far as prepping for a game is challenging, and you can see that more and more that people are leaning towards, hey, I just want to play. I'm going to pull out the book and away we go. There's procedures in place. And
Exactly.
how did you kind of hone in on that as far as like your game design for this?
So basically, from the very start, from the kind of alpha pamphlet version of this game, I wanted this to be GM led, but not necessarily, not kind of GM mastered. So I always envisioned a role of gamekeeper, as it's called in Whispers, as someone who kind of helps you to guide you through the adventure, not to set the adventure for you or kind of to do the whole narrative. So in terms of game design, we'll probably talk a little bit more about it later, but what kind of makes this game different is that the players are in control of the whole narrative, meaning you can easily go and play solo or GM-less, because GM is there to kind of throw you some plot hooks and kind of some obstacles here and there, and maybe be an arbiter for some of the rules in the book. But basically, the kind of the main way to play it, kind of default way to play it, is to roll a dice, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can do it alone. It can be a bunch of people rolling dice together, and then kind of interpret the results. And it's for the players to come up with the whole narrative. And sometimes you will be able to do it on a kind of scene basis. That, for example, you have a encounter with a bear or with a wolf. So you roll a dice, your body rolls a dice. You want to do different things, and kind of you look at the results, and then you go, okay, let's sit back and let's think how we want to tell this story, because I failed my role, you succeeded yours. I wanted to shoot the bear, you wanted to, I don't know, help me do something. Now let's kind of collaborate together to make our stories kind of intertwined, to tell the whole thing from the beginning to the kind of to the result. And in most games, it's for the GM to interpret the dice and say, okay, so you've succeeded. Now you kind of shot the bear. It's dead. Whatever. But here it's going to be very different. Although you can play a kind of more normal way, but by default, it's for the players to have full control over the consequences of each kind of action in the scene. And then GM is for like to be an arbiter of and kind of keeper of those consequences, maybe to throw them in later on. So kind of that's how you have more control, and that's why it's no prep or kind of very little prep for the GM. Because the players are in control of 99% of the whole story.
And as far as like, is it more like designed for one shots, or do you think you could do like long running campaigns for this?
No, it's definitely for one shots, or maybe it could be a few sessions, depends on how deep into the woods you want to go. But because it's as a hex scroll, you have some control over how many elements, how many hexes you put on a table. And based on that, you can basically more or less calculate how long it will take. But it's definitely for one shots. You can revisit the characters you've played as and do another venture into the forest. But in most cases, I think it would be the best idea to start fresh each game with a new plot hook, with new characters, kind of new possibilities to interact with the world.
And we've already talked a little bit about the art and the story, but just the setting itself, like I think 18th century villagers, like is what kind of vibe and mood is that?
So I don't even know why I've kind of said, yeah, let's make it 18th century, kind of Middle Europe. So it's kind of Germany, Poland, kind of current Germany, Poland-ish. But the most important part about the setting is that you play as commoners, kind of regular villagers that they don't have any powers, they don't have experience in combat too much or even at all. They're kind of common people with their struggles, injuries, secrets, sickness, etc. So that will make it, I hope, more interesting to play on that, kind of to role play on those traits, rather than to fulfill a kind of a power fantasy. So that's why it doesn't have to be a game in which you confront everything. It could be a game in which you basically make it a kind of a journey, a meditation, or you just go from hex to hex, basically maybe experiencing stuff rather than forcing interactions on each element of the world.
And so the minimalist part of it is each conflict can be resolved with a simple D6 roll, and then I know we'll talk about it shortly, that there's also some other kind of unique mechanics as far as the blind roll.
Yes. So the blind roll, it came from, well, it was actually the idea itself. It was one of the first ideas when I kind of decided that I want to make this game. But I was always drawn to things that I like to call ludonarrative harmony, which is a term that comes from video games. And in video games, usually people discuss ludonarrative dissonance, which is basically making the narrative element and the kind of gameplay element not fitting together. And harmony obviously is making those two elements to work in harmony. So and this is kind of a concept that can very much be seen in tabletop games as well. So for example, here I wanted to make the kind of blind rolls, and let me first maybe explain what it is. So basically you would roll a dice and then close your eyes, or maybe close your eyes and then roll the dice, and then you have to guess the result. And obviously the closer you are, the the better effect it has on your action. But it's very specific. Like you roll blindly where your character would be kind of blind. So, for example, where you face something unknown or mystical. And I wanted to have that kind of integration between your physical act of playing, of rolling the dice, of role playing, with the kind of in-game narrative element of discovering or being in a kind of difficult situation, kind of seeing, maybe trying interacting with the unknown. And interesting thing about this is that there is one role or class or whatever you want to call it, a child. And as we all know, children are kind of probably more akin to see behind the veil. So that's why if you play as a children, you don't roll blindly for anything mystical, because children are kind of naturally closer to those things. Kind of they can see it in game. So you as a player, you can also see. You don't have to guess. You just roll the dice.
And I know on Discord, I made the joke of like I'd be like kind of sneaking a peek.
Yeah.
Is there a penalty for those that peek?
No, I think all the different elements in this game, you can basically discard them, and that you can just take plot hooks and some of the kind of random elements and play it as you want to play this. And things like blind rolling or just simple d6 and kind of the kind of collaborative storytelling, it's there for people who want to do it. And I don't want to kind of force anyone into playing this as I envision it, because it should and it would work with kind of other systems or kind of other mechanics in mind as well. Because in the core of this game, and kind of the narrative core, is facing the unknown, kind of facing something that's ambiguous and making difficult decisions. So you can honestly, you can roll whatever dice you want and kind of use different mechanics, but kind of the story should have the same effect. And things like blind roll, it should enhance the experience, but it doesn't necessarily have to if you don't want it.
And how did you do the random hex crawl? What kind of procedures in place do you have for that?
So people who kind of backed Kickstarter with the highest pledge, they will have physical wooden hexes to put on a table, but obviously you can print those, or you can do it on a computer screen. You would just have the hex map built, and on the kind of one side, on the one side, it would be just woods. So you don't know where are you going. You just declare, I want to go, I don't know, east, for example. So then you just take the hex and you kind of switch it, and then you see, okay, it's a kind of flora event, and then you read from a random table what it is, and kind of GM's role is to guide you through that situation and maybe add some context to it, and then it's the player's time to take action. And there are three types of events: fauna, so kind of encounter with animals, but also other people; flora, which obviously is not only kind of trees and herbs, but also something a little bit more mystical, and its kind of floristic nature; and eerie, which basically is everything that's mystical, so mystical creatures and whatnot, different kind of weird events as well.
Cool. So the Kickstarter, 8 days to go as we speak. And so you've got, I think, 3 different tiers. The first one is the soul of the tree, the digital
Yeah, so
version.
the most basic one, that's no trees are going to be harmed in making of PDF. So that's kind of eco option. Then there's Flesh of the Tree, which is high quality printed version of the book. And it's high quality because the paper will be properly heavy and textured. And the hardcover is going to be printed on a real parchment. It's going to have a nice texture and feel to it.
And I checked prior to the start of the recording, and 30 euros is about $32 US. And I'm in Canada, so like, who knows?
Yeah, so it's not cheap for kind of 80 plus pages, but I really wanted to try something new and kind of really wanted to make this the highest quality, because I know there are a lot of people who kind of, if they are to buy a physical copy of a book, they want it to be long lasting. They want it to kind of present itself nicely on a shelf and on a tabletop. So I thought, yeah, I'll try to make it really kind of maybe not super fancy, but fancier than I would normally do. But hence the price. But if you really want to kind of go deep into your pocket and throw some money at me, you can do it with Essence of the Woods. And you will get not only a book, but also 9 handmade maple wood. We are actually discussing the type of wood, but for now it's maple, waxed oiled hexes that you can use to kind of plan or kind of plot your map, and 4 wooden dice, also handmade, super high quality. I'm super happy with how it kind of turns out. Real wood again, so for those who are feeling really fancy.
Cool. And then where can people find you? Obviously, if they search on Kickstarter, Whispers of the Woods, and the links will be in the show notes and the details, but where else can people find your work?
Yeah, so either on Twitter or on Discord under my name, as it's kind of, you can see on the screen, or they can seek out my brand, which is Haltung Storytelling. And I really need to work on that kind of branding, because most people recognize me, I guess, by my name rather than by the kind of brand name. We'll see. Maybe that should change, but you can either look for Paweł Kitzman or you can look for Haltung Storytelling, and you should be able to find some of my other stuff.
Well, it's always a challenge for indie game designers. Do you go with your name? Do you go with a company name? Like it's, and then you end up with 2 of this and 3 of that, and that kind of thing. But anyways, I just want to say, Paweł, it looks like a fun game. And as I've always said, like indie game designers need our support. So if you want to help Paweł, go to the Kickstarter. Fund it, and let's make this dream happen. And so Paweł, I just want to say, thank you for coming on and sharing more about your game, and best of luck on this Kickstarter.
Thank you so much.
And if you are an indie game designer and you have a game that you want to share with the world, I invite you to go to daikugames.com/gamepitch, and there's a form there to fill out, and you can put in the details of your game, and hopefully we can get you on the show here to do a little 15-minute, 20-minute live stream and share the details of the game and the Kickstarter. And if you go there, don't forget, tell them Game Pitch Gary sent you.
Hey friends, are you looking for a game that is not Dungeons or Dragons? Well, we got exactly what you need at Daiku Game Pitch. We got zines, we got OSR, we got adventures. But wait, there's more. We got solo games, we got journaling games, we even got card games and dice games. Oh hell, I don't even know what kind of game this is, but we got it. And if you visit us in the next 2 minutes, you're gonna get all the Zine Quest, Zine Months, Itch Fund and Backer Kits, Kickstarters that you can handle. Visit us at www.daikugames.com and tell them a Game Pitch Gary sent ya.